Welcome to Far Out with Faust. I'm Faust Chicho, and today I'm sitting here with the one and only John Newton. So, for the last 30 years, John has been a teacher and a facilitator of powerful healing modalities. And these modalities allow his clients to experience profound physical, mental, emotional, financial, and spiritual well being. His clients have included a vast array of people from political figures to Emmy, Grammy, and Academy Award winners, professional and Olympic athletes, scientists, nuns, therapists, rabbis, priests, you name it. John has been able to work with them and even work alongside some people in the medical community, adding his support to their practices. And John, we know how busy you are. Grateful to have you. Thanks for beaming in, brother.
Yeah, it's fun to be here. I'm very excited.
Cool, man. I love the spaceship you're on. It's going to be perfect for the theme we're working with.
Yeah. I can imagine. I have no doubts.
um, so let's get right into it, man. I know you're a busy guy, so I wanted to ask you. I heard about these amazing experiments that were going on with some things in the prison, and I know we're jumping ahead, but I want to get right into the gritty stuff so that our audience can hear what they're about to listen to. Tell me about the meditation experiment in DC with the prisons and explain to me about the physics behind it.
So I'm assuming you're referring to the Transcendental Meditation movement. They had several experiences. The DC, not just in prisons, but also in other areas where they were able to predict drop in crime, other coherence-related factors in those communities, and they would basically say this is going to happen in this time that we're having these group of meditators, advanced meditators in one area, all together, creating that coherence in those areas. And they would predict it before, and then of course they would note the actual reduction in crime and things like that. In the prisons, they've done a lot of one-on-one, I know, teaching of meditation, and a lot of Hollywood cats have gotten behind that. I don't have the statistics on all of that. I mean, I've been practicing transcendental meditation since '86. How many years is that?
Wow.
34 years. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely been a big part of my life. So I love what they're up to, what they're doing. You know, definitely fringy as far as some of the science goes, as far as mainstream scientists acknowledging and validating. But we don't need the current scientific understanding to let us know what's actually possible. That would be a mistake, because throughout history we wouldn't want to let that tell us. So we kind of take it with a grain of salt. But there is definitely measurable advancements in, crime reduction, stress relief, improvement in pretty much every area of life that they're contributing to. For
Yeah,
sure.
and what we're talking about is the geo tracking or putting a group of meditators in a certain place and being able to predict the effect that amount of coherent energy will create on that place. And I just wanted to ask John that because I know he has knowledge of and has been involved in some of the more interesting, statistically, strong evidence that shows like the profound effect that meditation can have. And I know it's been a big part of your awakening and your life's work, John. Do you want to talk a little bit about your awakening?
Yeah, sure. So there's kind of like we can have a personal awakening, and then we can have like a cosmic awakening. A lot of times it's triggered by what we call a dark night of the soul. There's a lot of information out there on that. My personal experience was just coming through basically a dissolution of the ego and the things in life that weren't working, that just kind of hit me over the head like a million pounds of crumbling rocks, and there was nowhere to go. Nothing would fix it. So I had to literally let go of everything known and just surrender into being, into that, kind of state that Eckhart Tolle and a lot of the greats point to. But just that state of pure awareness where there's no identity, there's no small I, there's no separate self, there's no me, there's no history, there's no in, out, up, down, east, west. It's just pure awareness. And it's a very powerful state. And if you believe in a higher power of some kind, we would say that higher power is in that state. So you're one with that, which points back to the Old Testament and the I am that I am and all of that, the sacred names of the Creator in the Judeo teachings. But it was really just having that awakening and just the disillusion of the ego, the separate me. It was not pleasant. There was a lot of things going on around that time. I was having a full Kundalini awakening, which lasted about a year. So many things going on. I didn't really keep a journal, but I just know that when the dust settled, when I came out the other side of the cosmic birth canal, if you want to call it that everything was different. We'll just say nothing to hold on to. And that surrender is kind of where I offer the work that I do, in that awareness. And I feel like any great state. I watched this documentary recently. Let me know if I'm talking too much.
No, you're good.
About Tiger Woods. And I don't watch the news a lot, so I didn't really know a lot about his personal choices and all of that. But what struck me as so interesting in that documentary, I think it was the first part. It's a two-parter on HBO, I think. Mm-hmm. And he grew up playing golf on a military base with his father. Obviously, his father was Green Beret and all that. And his father had a friend who was a psyops military psychiatrist kind of guy, specialized probably in interrogation, but also had a lot of tools. And my feeling is that he taught Tiger how to be in that zone of pure awareness, where he was able to shut out everything else. And of course, repetition of that swing, his golf swing, for hundreds of thousands of times. The combination of that helped Tiger to probably transcend physics, what's possible as a human, kind of attain that flow state or zone in his work and in his sports, his athletic ability, which was, if you've ever seen some of the things he's done, you probably have. I'm not a big sports person, but so anyway, what caught me was that teacher that his father knew that probably took Tiger under his wing for a bit and basically showed him how to be present.
Yeah.
The flip side of that is he didn't do the emotional work, right?
No,
he didn't release the other stuff. So he had issues with women and possibly alcohol and other things. So
I have a lot of, I see Tiger, and when I learned about his childhood and the militant golf indoctrination he was giving, I felt terrible for him. But I wasn't. When I saw him start to go through that destructive period, it was no surprise to me. It was it was a matter of time, because there just didn't seem to be the kind of love and care that a growing boy needs. There seemed to be some great golf, lessons and some amazing examples of how like Joe Jackson did the same thing with Michael and his kids. They were little machines for him, but the problem is they were missing a lot of other things. But
yep, absolutely. So the work that I offer is both of those. It covers the emotional, but yet it helps with the waking up. It's kind of a 50-50 split with what I do now. So
you talk about two paths, and you talk about waking up, and then you talk about the reset that comes after. So I guess I want to ask, why is it so vital to first be awake? And what do you mean when you say that, for people who are listening who aren't quite sure? The term woke is so abused these days, but you've been using it for years. At least I've been watching you use it in the videos going back many years. So when you say waking up, what does it mean? How is that the first part? And then what's the second part with the reset?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's like they are separate parts. I wouldn't say one precedes the other or has to come before. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Most people enter into a path or religious, spiritual, whatever it is, out of necessity. They're having a life crisis of medical, their marriage isn't working, they're broke or whatever. And so they're looking for answers. And so many people are looking for a thing. It's like in the Matrix, the blue pill or the red pill. And so this is the red.
We know.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the red pill. And how far does the rabbit hole go? It goes so far down that there's no more rabbit hole. So when I say waking up, it's basically most people. Okay, let's rewind a bit. So most people, when I say most, I mean 99.9 and continue the nines, are running a program. They're living in the mind. Their reference for life, for who they are, for what's showing up, everything comes from the program. And the program is, we think it's in the mind and literally think. Einstein had a great quote, the mind can't fix the problems it created. So we need to reset. We need to access something more than the mind. So waking up is a simple adjustment from the mind, mental thoughts, story, what's known, anything that can show up on a movie screen at a movie theater, we'll say. The waking up part is the screen itself. So being the screen allows you access to actually rewrite what shows up on the screen. So when we say waking up, it's just being present. The mind is the antithesis of that. The mind works with known, it works with past, it works with what's happened before. It works with memories. So if we're a program, and we kind of are, and we're at least, we'll say we're running a program, then in order to rewrite that program, you have to see where is it recorded, where is it held, where is it stored. Most people think it's the mind. It's not. It's the body. It's what we feel. What we feel generates thoughts, or at least gives thoughts weight. If I tell you a joke and you don't feel tickled, you're not going to laugh. And it's kind of like that. So the things in life that don't work are stuck patterns, repeat relationships, addiction, chronic pain, anything that's not resolving is just physics. And it's based on the program we have running. So if we don't rewrite that program, we're going to get the same crap over and over. And people are like, well, I don't understand. Why does this keep happening? I set goals in January. I wanted to be at this weight. I wanted to have this soulmate show up and all this other stuff. I'm like, well, that's 1% of you that's saying it wants something. The 98%, 99% is going the other direction. So we got to get on board. We got to have all of us aligned and congruent with what's in our heart, why we're here, show up fully, rewrite the program. And so what we do is we help people clear out of the body, out of the physiology, the vagus nerve, the cellular neurons, neural pathways, call it what you want. We help people to reset that, so that the thoughts, if I have a thought, I'm a piece of you know what, it doesn't have any weight. So the thought just goes back to the nothing from which it came. That's so much more effective than me standing in front of a mirror and trying to be positive. Good luck with that, you know?
Yeah,
like,
you can be positive all day, but the body is habitually doing and signaling and saying something completely opposite, you know?
We're carrying old hurt from the past. The stuff that happened, dad beat me when I was whatever, parents got divorced, or the neighborhood bully, or someone fiddled. I mean, so many things happened in our life, but also we've learned in the last 10 to 15 years scientifically about these epigenomes, which are attachments to the DNA, right? It's like taking a highlighter to a textbook. This is important, and then crossing out the stuff that isn't important. Well, the challenge is these epigenomes were formed during traumatic periods a lot of times. So we're crossing out the good stuff and we're highlighting the crappy stuff. And that's what we go back to. None of you, I don't want to put that on anyone, but that's a lot of times what humans are referencing for their life. And they're wondering why it ain't working. I'm like, well, look at your screenplay. It's like, if it's like a crappy movie, you get a crappy screenplay. No, let's throw out this, let's rewrite. The key to writing is rewriting, as Hunter and whoever else will tell you. And so let's rewrite.
Yeah.
So we can't just rewrite with the mind. We got to rewrite with our being. And we got to access something that knows the perfect screenplay, because the perfect screenplay is already written. You're tapping into it. And in a way, with this practice, you're channeling your higher self. I know that sounds weird, but that's
not to me, not to most of our listeners. Yeah.
Well, but to people, here's the thing about my work. And that's why I'm a little reticent of going out there. Like Hunter loves to just go all the way out. And I like to keep it a little in between the lines so that I can work with those that don't believe in a lot of the woo-woo stuff, that aliens and the whatever, they're not into that. Yeah. I want to help them too.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Sorry, I got off on a little.
No, you're good. But you're absolutely right. And I really want, I was thinking all the things I wanted to ask you, and I was really thinking about people who aren't into, everything that I'm into, who are going to listen to this, who are thinking right now, like, okay, well, dude, so what's the fucking, well, I guess I can swear whatever, but what's the first thing that I can do? Let's say I'm interested in this. Let's say, I'm not going to tell anyone I'm interested in this, but let's say I want to take the first step. What would you advise I do? Because that's what some people are going to be sitting around thinking.
Great. So here's the biggest mistake biggest mistake. There's thousands of biggest mistakes, but one of them, people go into overwhelm. So for instance, someone, let's say, and I'm not promising to work on depression. Let's say someone says they're depressed. I'm like, great. Well, what's depressing you? My whole life sucks. Well, that's not going to help. In other words, if I take my car to the mechanic and say it's broken, well, the mechanic needs to know, well, what's going on? Is it steering poorly? Are the brakes not working? Are you lacking power? Is the economy off? Whatever. So we isolate something. So we take it down to like a laser beam of focus, and we identify one thing. Now, here's the paradox. Everything's connected and related. So this one thing's connected to every other thing in our life, but we start with one thing, not unlike Michael Talbot's holographic universe, where you take a piece of holographic film, cut it, a tiny part contains the whole image. It's like that. So then we address that one thing. So what's going on really? Well, I just feel lonely. Let's start with that. So I have people go into their body. What a concept. I have them notice what they feel. not as an emotional concept because that has judgment, it has a history, it's more mind. No, notice sensation. So they go in the body and they notice sensation. And now we're off to the races because now we have a handle on it. You had a pot of boiling water. It's very hard to move it around on the stove. It feels unmanageable, creates overwhelm. But the moment you have a handle on it, the moment you can identify what it is, then now you can adjust, you can move, you can, handle it literally. So we resolve where they hold that in their body, but it didn't start with the current thought. If I'm having struggle in a relationship, let's say I'm married, but let's say I wasn't, and I'm in a relationship with somebody and it's just hell. Well, the hell in that relationship is a frequency that goes way back, probably every other relationship, maybe a bully at work. So if we don't get to the root, the weed grows back. And people cut weeds. They try to pretend they're not there. They plant more flowers. No, let's get the weed by the root. Let's pull it out. And it's not an issue anymore. So then they may notice their depression goes away because it's not about the current stuff. It's about the old stuff. So that's the roundabout. I can give you more specifics, but that's.
Well, I think it's a wonderful way to start and to give people an idea of why it's so vital to first become aware of, not be overwhelmed, but begin to break things down like a scientist, like the observer,
Sure.
And then I think it when you start to learn about these concepts and you start to see the physical effect that you can have on your first, like, let's say, like you said, a lot of people come to this work because their health is giving them a lot of trouble. And so they begin to realize the correlation between some of the things that are going on and have gone on in their life and the health problems that they have, right? So they begin to see the physical differences they can make in their body. And some of these physical differences are profound, as you know, and as many people listening know. So from there, it's like you start to see, I can affect all aspects of my life in the physical, in as a physical being in this world. And so it's like when you start to understand one, you can start to correlate it to the other. So I think it's a great place that you started. But I wanted to ask you before we went going, you said you had a Kundalini awakening for a year. I felt like I had a Kundalini awakening for a night, and it was intense. I mean, it was a night I'll never forget. But and this idea of a Kundalini awakening, the word itself has gotten so broad. So I wanted to hear what your experience was and how, and what makes you refer to it as that.
Well,
If you can talk about it.
in my early days of my search, I would have done anything. If you told me walking to Santa Barbara on glass, broken glass would have helped me wake up, I would have done it. I would have said, when can I leave? So I would have done anything, and I pretty much did do anything. And I looked under a lot of rocks, and I studied and traveled, and that was a big part of my early journey, was finding things that would actually help, because I was really not doing well on pretty much every level. And I feel like it was the universe conspiring to help me to have this wake up, because necessity is the mother of invention, as they say. So I was able to discover some things that helped me to have a Kundalini awakening. And as it was going on, it just had this life that there was I couldn't hold on to anything. As I said earlier with the wake up, this is slightly different, but although they were probably in bed together. So for me, it was this intense energy that was so much more than me that I just had to get out of the way. I remember feeling like I had to hold on to my bed for months at night, because it felt like this energy was, it was just, there's no describing it truly.
Wow.
And it went on for so long. And it was excruciatingly pleasurable. That's the way I'll describe it.
Okay, so this does sound like my experience.
Yeah, but I couldn't find a reference for it. No one could tell me. I went to the Kundalini Yoga Center, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we'll do the Gong meditation," and that's great. I love Kundalini Yoga and the path of the Sikhs and all that. It's wonderful, but they really couldn't tell me. I went to the Kabbalah Center, and they couldn't tell me. But there was clues everywhere. And for those who have ears to hear and eyes to see, and I started to see and get I realized what's happening, and it's not something, it's kind of like a buddy of mine said, ayahuasca is like, I can't recommend something. What do you say? No, I can't recommend something and warn people away from something at the same time so strongly, or something like that. And it's kind of like that. So
that's funny you say that. That's the night I'm referring to. I was on a weekend IO journey. Yeah.
Journey. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, it's just something more that came through that basically destroyed anything that you could hold on to. That's the only thing I could describe it. And it brought up all my stuff. I mean, just however intense it was that night, the following day, I knew was going to be the corollary of it. So this wonderful, incredible, energy, just like, I'm like, oh my God. And then go out in my world. And then of course, all the shadow, because that's like this bright light of energy. And then the shadow would show up in my life out there in the world, and I'd have to deal with that. So it was interesting. I don't encourage it. unless it's something that you just have a burning desire for. And I've had a few people I've coached to help them to find the answers in themselves to activate their own Kundalini, but it's not something I would share just blanketly.
Yeah. I mean,
Mick Jagger did one time.
Oh,
Mick Jagger did. He out loud at a concert, he basically exposed how to awaken your Kundalini.
Wow.
I wasn't there. I just heard about it from someone I knew. But anyway.
Mick Jagger. I feel like it's the experience itself is as unique for each individual as their fingerprint. It's like, I just feel like there's no one thing. I mean, yeah, there is, of course, there's things that correlate it, make it something that we can say, okay, it's that. But I feel like it's obviously experienced by the person. So it's going to be.
But if you get thrown out of an airplane, 100 people can get thrown out of an airplane. They're all having the same it's the same experience for everybody. They're all going to react differently. Yes. And they're going to have different things come up, and they're going to either find their parachute or not before they hit the ground. But it's kind of like that. So, but I agree with you. Yes.
Cool. Yeah. No, that's well said. Was there a specific trigger for it?
Yeah.
Just wondering.
Oh yeah. And the karma of that, for me to say that out loud, I would let you shoot me in the face with a shotgun before I would reveal that. Okay. Because seriously, I wouldn't want the karma, because it's one of those things, when you're ready, it shows up.
Right.
When you're ready, it appears. And if you're not ready, you don't want that experience if you're not ready, because people have that experience and they end up in mental institutions if they're not ready.
No, it's true. It's true.
And I see why easily, but it's one of those things.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I want to talk to you about, and like why I think it's the way that you word things and how you break things down, I think is really special. It's really awesome and unique. I'm a student of Dr. Joe Dispenza's, and I'm sure you've heard of him in your work. I mean, you guys are talking different dialects of the same language, and it's awesome. So I wanted to ask you, because I've come to the belief that you can try to skirt your way around these things that we're talking about, this kind of work, but on a higher level, it's kind of what you came here to do, what you incarnated to do in this life, and it gets muddy when we're talking about time and past and future, and but one of the things that I wanted to ask your opinion about is like, so for people who are trying to do mental acrobatics as opposed to face this in themselves and learn and to sit with it and really, I guess, excavate it in order to truly be present and not be, this walking, talking program from past experiences, most of them not good. How, what would you say to them? For people who are trying to figure it out, but staying on this intellectual and mental plane.
I would say, do what you're doing. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not like, oh, what I'm doing is better. Everybody's where they need to be. But the real pickle is if you and when you get related to what you're really doing. So let's say, for instance, I have a bad habit of slapping myself in the face just all the time, but I don't know that I'm doing it. I'm not related to it. I've taken so many, every 10 minutes I put lidocaine on my face so I don't feel it. And then I wonder, one day I get related because I'm tired of slapping myself in the face. Maybe there's an impact. Maybe my friends won't go in public with me, or I'm embarrass them, or I can't get a date because I do it, or whatever's happened. Somehow there's something in me goes, you know what? Something's off. I don't know what it is. Pow, I'm not sure what it is. And then one day we get related and we really see what we're doing. The moment you're aware of what you're really up to is the moment you have access to transcending it. And so I would say just, so many people spend so much time and energy denying where they are, pretending that things don't hurt, trying to self-medicate with the internet, and sugar, caffeine, alcohol are more intense than that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, just stop for a moment. If we're lost, if I'm on a road trip and I'm just lost, but I just keep hitting the gas, taking more energy drinks, is that really going to help me? Well, maybe I'll get more lost faster, which can help. It's like an alcoholic finds the creator at the bottom of a bottle sometimes, but it's just, okay, wait a minute. To admit I'm lost is a big step, and then pull over and stop and say, okay, wait a minute. I need to regroup, because in order to get somewhere, you have to know where you are. You could have a map to Chicago all day long. You could whatever, but if you don't know where you are, good luck. So it's not just knowing, it's being related to where you are. And the moment you do that, you have your personal free will back, we'll say. And then you have access to what's really going on. And then you can begin to actually show up in a way that's in your heart, as opposed to trying to override everything that you carry that doesn't feel good. Because that's what most humans are doing. If I could just get enough sex, if I could just be powerful enough, if I could have enough money, if I can just find the right guru, if I can, anything out there, that's what we're, and eventually we get tired. So if most of us are honest, we'll realize, you know what? I'm tired. Get related to that. Start there. We talk about slippery layers that people have, and those are you can't pin them down. It's like cleaning a fish. You ever tried to clean a fish sometimes? You try to hold the fish and it pops out. And you're like, I can't clean this freaking fish. I get it. It's called slippery for a reason. And so we just need to pin that down and then start where we are and address where we are, the current layer, we call it. And sometimes that's slippery. Sometimes it's just doesn't feel good, but it's there.
Yeah.
And then we start to get that, as we said, the free will back. And we start to notice that we have forward movement, that we're not stuck and overwhelmed and depressed and whatever else. But I would just say wherever you are is perfect, but just get related to where you are, because you may or may not be happy with it.
Yeah.
You may be lying to yourself.
And get honest about it,
Exactly. That's it. The truth sets you free, but not the truth. Oh, I'm a child of God. Well, that's never helped anybody, right? But to experience being a child of the infinite or creator or divine mother, whatever you want to call it, that's a totally different experience. That's truth, gnostically, not intellectually, and it does set you free.
Right.
And it's already in you. That's the paradox. Everybody has everything within them. You're one with the infinite. Are you kidding me? The mind has other plans, and that's really the issue.
Yeah, it's a tug of war between the mind, the body, and the soul.
Yeah, and you can't try to fight the mind. It doesn't work. As the Einstein quote we said earlier, you just don't identify with it. Oh, there's a shitty thought. Well, most people have a shitty thought. They put a saddle on it and they ride it off into the sunset. Meanwhile,
sometimes they keep riding and riding.
To 5,000, 10,000 lifetimes. And then they come back and go, wait, where did I take the wrong turn? Let's get back to, we don't have to find our way back. Because the way back is always right here. The long and winding road that leads you back to your door. Your door is here. So sometimes we do take the long and winding road, but we don't have to.
Yeah. I feel like it's because we come to view that road as the least painful, which is, maybe that's true in the moment, especially when you're younger. But at the same time, that habit, it gets you you end up in a dark place and you end up lost a lot of the time, and you're going to have to circle back around or
exactly
figure out where you are. Yeah.
It's like John Candy in that Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Do you remember that movie?
Of course. Yeah.
You're going the wrong way. And he goes, how does he know where we're going? Because they're on the highway going the wrong direction on the highway. And the guy's like yelling at him. He's like, how does he know where we're going? Anyway,
that's right.
It's like that.
Oh yeah. I'm just old enough to remember.
Yeah. You're probably not old enough. I'm definitely older than you.
Yeah. I'm
respect your elders.
But I try.
No, I'm kidding.
But what was I going to say? Oh yeah. So, and that's where, I know that you don't stress necessarily the importance of meditation, but how can meditation help people find this place, this awareness, this, being awake, as you say?
Well, yeah, I do stress the importance of meditation. I just don't teach meditation. I leave that up to professionals that actually do that for a living, and I respect that. I prefer a mantra type meditation. It's effortless. It's powerful. People often mistake guided visualization and, visualizing your goals as meditation. That's not meditation.
Right.
It's powerful. Do it if you feel called to. I love it. But transcending in a simple technique, effortless, that you touch on that transcendent or presence, awareness, consciousness on a regular basis. It's a very sweet thing. It's just reminding you, it's like sipping from the sacred chalice of truth. The more you do, the more it becomes part of your nature, the more it shows up in your life, you as the Buddha, or you as the ... Rumi, or whoever you want to fill in the blank with. Mm-hmm. So it's just that experiential, it's something more charming to the mind and nervous system than thoughts. So it's training the attention, because in every moment, you always have one choice. Always, if you under every circumstance, whether you have a body, whether one is in prison, on the battlefield, you always have one choice, no matter what's happening. And that is, where's your attention? Most people's attention is, as we said, they're on the thoughts, and the thoughts are not even here. And most of them aren't, well, by definition, all thoughts aren't real. They show up as real, but they're not intrinsically real. So literally, people are resting and putting all their spiritual money in a pretend bank. And I'm like, and then they wonder why they're having trouble sleeping at night. I'm like, well, because your money isn't in a real bank. That's not a real Bitcoin, or that's not a real, golden eagle or whatever. So yeah. It's kind of like that. So people put all their stake in the mind. They trust the mind to tell them what's true and real. And it doesn't work. No. But eventually they find out, most people, when it's too late. Most people at the end of their life, physical transition, dropping the body, the mind goes away. There's a soul that's left, and they go back into the soup, back into the oneness, or whatever you want to believe, maybe heaven or hell if you're religious. But whatever it is, you see more then. Mm-hmm. And my whole thing is, let's see more now, so that we can resolve what we have, so we don't meet the end of a physical life kicking and screaming. And if it works, that we go into another experience coming out kicking and screaming, which so many infants do, babies, newborns, because it's like, what? It doesn't have to be like that. Right. So I'm like, let's handle it now. Let's get our free will back now. Let's have the life that we came here to live now. Unless you want to wait, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with waiting.
Right. One way or the other, though.
If you're not hungry, you're not going to enjoy the buffet. So a lot of people are getting hungry, right? They've stepped away. They don't give a crap about spiritual or religion or the creator or the present or meditation or self-help or whatever. And that's fine. They're just getting hungry. And then eventually they'll come looking for truth, looking for what's real. Because you could be a billionaire. I promise you, I have billionaire clients, and the billions don't make them happy. No. Sex and the famous whoever's and presidential candidates. I've worked with all kinds of people. You think, oh, they're good. No, they have just as many neuroses as everybody else.
Oh yeah.
So
I think that maybe some other people think they're good. Yeah. But no, it's clear to me. But who I wanted to ask you, and I was trying to find this out before we got on this interview, but. Who was your teacher, John? Who taught you about ancestral clearing? Well,
I learned the core forgiveness prayers, the core of that, from someone named Howard Wills. He lives in Hawaii. I originally met him. He was living in South Carolina about 25 years ago, probably more than that, actually. So that's one part of what I do. I've had many teachers, some physical, some non-physical, but many beings that have helped support. But it's kind of like when the student's ready, the teacher appears. Mm-hmm. So the infinite really is the great teacher, and that shows up in many forms. But I would say, as far as the actual miracle work that this practice can be, and I don't call myself a healer, that comes from the forgiveness practice that I did learn from Howard Wills. I think has Hunter met him before? I feel like you did, Hunter, somewhere.
If he was in Hawaii, Hunter probably.
No, he used to come to LA a lot. Okay. I told Hunter about him years ago. But anyway,
So
So
tell me,
yeah,
what does
so
forgiveness, like, how important is the forgiveness
it's
aspect of it?
everything. It's everything. And I don't talk about it a lot. And the reason is people go, forgiveness? Oh, I know what that is. Or I've done that. Or they don't deserve my, whatever story they have. It's like, I don't mention the word, you don't see God on my website. I'm not like religious
Yeah.
at all, even if I was, but it's not there because people go, oh God, I don't want any more of that crap, religion, forgiveness. I know what that is. It's like, so I try to create a framework where it's something unknown. It's a mystery because it is. The forgiveness that we offer that we're talking about isn't like what you think. And
Right.
it's so powerful. Forgiveness means to forego. It means to offer up. It means to do this. Most people, they're trying to do this. They're trying to get rid of things that they don't like, prefer, don't feel good. But when we do this in a humble, grateful, sacred way, it's letting go of the things that can lead to chronic stress, chronic
Like
pain,
illness.
addiction, cancer. I'm not making a claim. I'm just saying everything comes from something. So this forgiveness path is a way of letting it go back to the nothing from which it came.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
So,
huge.
so, you know, I have gone through and really made it a point to figure out who in my life is, who am I still holding on to? Like, if, if I can, just the thought of them, or if I say their name, right, kind of right down the line. And so I can't think of anyone who, you know, I I can't be in the room with them because there's beef between us. There's unsettled business. There's whatever it is. I don't, I really made it a point to go through, and I want to make sure, I want to check everyone off that list. I don't care what the reason was. I don't care if it was a misunderstanding, or we were friends and we were business partners. I don't have anyone in my life who is on that list. I don't have a list anymore. Okay, I can be in the room with anyone. I may not want to be in the room with anyone. I may
Yeah.
not I may not want to hang out, but I can be, and I can, and I as far as I know, at least right now, nobody wants to come at me. You know what I mean? I don't have any outstanding beef with anyone. But I know a lot of people who do, who don't
Let me just say something to that effect. So what you're making is a great statement. So most people will, not most people, rarely someone will come to me and say what you just said. Like there's nobody, I don't have a charge to anybody. And they believe it because the mind's telling them that. And I'm not saying this is you, by the way, because I really believe you. When you say that, I can feel that it's true for you. But a lot of people, their current intellectual self believes that. But here's the thing, there's fragmented versions of them. The 5-year-old that's still hiding in the closet because dad came home drunk and they can hear him beating their mother downstairs and they can't help. So they developed a belief that they're not enough, or whatever the story was, life's not safe. And then, so that experience, and most people have many, they bury them. It's like, oh, I can't, it's too much. I don't want to think about it. So they put it in the very far corner of the basement. And then the basement starts getting full of these kinds of things. And then they say, no, I'm fine. Because we're in the living room. We're hanging out in the living room. We're good. We're good. Well, I'm going to go. Do you mind if I get something out of it? No, don't go into the basement. So they feel something. They don't know what it is, but they've told themselves that they are good. Everything's good. My childhood was fine. I mean, I had the normal ups and downs, but everything's good. But the 5-year-old is still in the closet hiding.
Yeah.
And those versions, those early versions of us, are actually, they had their hands, it's like a puppeteer on the roots of when our nervous system was forming, when the program was being written. It's like I don't want to use a computer programmer analogy, but we could. But the point is if we don't validate and resolve and give a voice to those earlier versions of us, they still have power. And I'll go through life and say what you're saying, like, I don't have any problems, I'm good. And then someone cuts them off on the freeway and they're screaming and yelling at the person, like, get out of my way, I'm late for yoga class. Like, okay, there's something else going on. Well, the something else is that stuff.
Yeah.
We don't have to relive the old trauma, but we want to resolve it. And there's ways of doing it where you don't have to go back and, be in the closet with that 5-year-old in a way, but we do want to validate them. We want to clear the charge. That's what we're saying. So that we don't hold the anger toward dad or issues with authority figures, or people hate Donald Trump. I'm like, it's not about Donald Trump. He's a figure who's bringing up your father stuff. Let him, you know?
Oh man. Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, believe me, I know.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know you know.
I literally know. But and that's the thing, we even in the moment that we're conscious, and we're having conversation, and all of a sudden something is said, and bang, we are a reaction. We don't realize we're a reaction until the reaction is done, and someone
Yeah.
said, "Dude, calm down, all right? Like,
Right.
it's not. Why are you screaming? And enough that happens enough time when you start to say, why does my blood boil when, why can't I just talk about that? Why do I get so worked
Yeah.
up? And so that's a pretty good indicator that, if you want to get to the bottom of it, then there are avenues to explore which can help you to figure out where that reaction is coming from, because the other person on the side of it, the person who has to live with you, the person who's in a relationship with you, whether it be father, mother, brother, lover, that's the person you've been yelling at. That's the
Yeah.
person who's been getting the brunt of your unresolved
Yeah.
stuff, and so if not for you, do it for them, because it's like the end result is a lot more happiness, a lot more chance of
Yeah.
communion in the true respect of the word, communication.
Definitely.
That's why I'm just encouraging and thinking about, everyday situations where people can start to have a litmus test of, well, maybe because John, I used to think that all the things you were saying, that I had a totally normal childhood, and that, I was free and clear.
Yeah.
And I was just clueless, but I think a lot of people don't realize the extent of the effect that it can have on their lives, and some of the situations in their lives right now. And, it kind of brings me to the next thing I want to talk to you about, as far as, health. Obviously a very hot topic right now, obviously and we're going to be mindful of the way we speak about it because of how hot of a topic it is. But, we're talking about the correlation between free will and body and mind, and the health that shows up in our bodies. So, like, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your experience with that. I'm sure that you've witnessed some pretty amazing things in your work.
Thousands of things I've seen that don't get explained by current medical or scientific understanding, and they don't have to. I don't, because I don't take credit for it. And it's, the infinite does the work. I just hold a mirror at best. That's why, as I said earlier, I don't call myself a healer, but there's a massive connection and correlation to things that happen in our life as far as dis-ease and the things we carry. So I'm carrying a boatload of chronic stress that I've never resolved. And then I wonder why I have high blood pressure. Well, the doctor, if I go to a doctor, sometimes, not all docs, there's lots of great doctors out there, but a lot of doctors, they don't have the time to do the emotional archaeological kind of, they don't have the time to deal with a lot of the underpinnings. They're given such a short amount of resource, time being one of those resources, that really oftentimes what they can do is give medication to lower the blood pressure. But I'm not saying don't take that medication. I'm saying, let's see, what if there's something else going on? Let's address that also. And as you do, you may notice that you can work with your doctor possibly and reduce medication. I'm not saying to do that, but there's such a correlation between physical pain and emotional pain,
Mm-hmm.
dis-ease and unresolved. I mean, it's just simple physics. And so if we don't address, it's like the iceberg analogy, there's just a little bit above the surface.
Yeah.
Well, when you see the cross section with a scuba diver or underwater camera, you're like, oh, the iceberg is, I don't know what the percentage is. It's probably 90% below the water.
Yeah.
Do you know what the percentage is? I don't, but
It's huge.
so it's like that.
Yeah.
We could study ocean currents by studying waves, or we can address what's creating ocean currents.
Yeah.
There's so many analogies, but it's just like that. So if we have a dis-ease, or if we have something chronic 3 months or longer, it's pain or some emotion or a pattern of something that keeps showing up, it's like, what if there's physics to that? What if it's not random? What if it's not, oh, I just inherited this DNA for this marker for MS? None of you. Well, okay, yeah, but what if that's also a reflection of something deeper? Everything is about something deeper.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I could tell you stories about people who were being unplugged because there was no brain activity. Not that they were just in a coma, that they were unplugged and they wanted me to go bless their child at the hospital. And the child comes out of the coma with
Wow.
7, 8 witnesses of the family. Like weird stuff like that. You can't explain it. Cancer evaporating. I'm not making a claim. I'm telling you the reports. I saved the emails. I got thousands and thousands of these kinds of reports of what? Somebody who is a plane crash survivor, people who were at 9/11. I've worked on several 9/11 survivors, first responders. They can't function in their life, won't leave their apartment. And then their life goes back to normal. They don't have any charge to it, you know? So we see these things every day.
Yeah.
And so it's normal. It's normal in my reality. It's not normal in the newspaper, you know, but
it's not, it's
newspaper. People don't read newspapers. Sorry, I'm dating myself.
I know what you mean.
The World Wide Web.
Yeah. The mainstream media, the World Wide Web.
So yeah. So they don't like to report that stuff because, well,
yeah, they have their reasons. Yeah. We don't have to get into that.
No.
Don't get me going.
Yeah.
But
don't get me started.
Don't get me started on that. We'll hear a loud cut from our friend. No.
Yeah.
You know, it's a part of my world too, and that's why it's awesome to be talking to you about it. Because I have friends, and I've seen some pretty amazing things, you know, go on, and as far as all the work that they've done on themselves, and realizing that the power that we all innately have, that comes from this amazing human body, we have this beating heart, and we have a trillion things going on every second of every day. We don't have to think anything about them. They just happen for us. I mean, if that's not God, I don't know what it is, you know. And like you said, the word God it's got a lot of loaded charge to it, but
yeah, people have had, you know, a lot of times religion forced on them without being told the real deeper spiritual meaning behind stuff, you know, whether you're Jewish or Catholic, Christian, Hindu, there's meaning behind everything. You know, if we get back in touch with the roots of stuff, you know, any path gets you to Rome, as they say. It's not about
Rome, yeah.
Actually, Rome's a bad example because that's where the Catholic Church is. I'm not only referring to the Catholic Church, but you know, all paths lead to the truth, we could say. So, you know, you could find truth in the phone book if you're ready. So I really, you know, we've heard that before, but it's true.
It is true.
Yeah, you know.
Can you quickly tell me about, you know, ancestral clearing is such a fascinating concept to me, and you know, because you hear a lot of talk about past lives, and you know, you can go one further and say, you know, that there's no past, and on one level people understand that everything is happening now, and in another way that they don't have any idea. But when you say ancestral clearing, you know, it makes me think like there is also an opportunity in the DNA, and this is something that you can actually physically observe. And when I say that, I mean there is scientific evidence now to show this, that there is trauma, right, that can get stuck in the DNA, and it can be like literally generational, or it can come from like, can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I mean, we could just look at the simple physics of it. We come in as a soul, let's say, or energy form, or if you believe that, how could you not? Something came in and it comes into this newly forming organism. And like you said, there's DNA that comes from both parents. Well, if we look and see those attachments to the DNA, what happened in the last 10 generations? I actually go back hundreds or thousands of generations with this work, but let's just say the last 10. World War II, World War I, tuberculosis, famine, plague, depending on where they came from, misuse of power, bullies in government. I mean, we can go back to civil wars. You know, there's so many things that happened on the planet just in the last, you know, 150, 200 years. So that would be what, 8 generations? I mean, we can keep going. And it's like, did they resolve everything? So when we're born, here's your computer. Or that's even too complicated. Let's make it real easy. Here's your easel or your pad of paper and pencil. And here you're going to draw your life. You're going to have a life experience with this paper, right? This canvas. You're like, oh, that's wonderful. This is so exciting. And we look down at it. It's already full of their stuff because they didn't resolve it. So it just keeps getting handed down.
Right.
So I'm like, well, now what do I do? How do I fit into this? And, it's pretty crazy when you see, and I've seen this in hospitals, when you see a newborn baby, or 6-month-old baby with cancer. It's like, what? That's not even possible. Yeah. Well, look at the ancestors, look at what's occurred, look at what's passed on. There's an interruption in the intelligence where cells have gone rogue. They're not checking back in with the mothership of the heart, truth, the present, whatever you want, creator, right? So these cells who have incorrect information are having offspring, and it's not doing well for this child, right? This kind of stuff happens, and we're like, well, let's just treat the cancer. Let's cut it out. Let's radiation and chemotherapy and whatever else. And I'm like, I'm not saying not to do that, but I'm saying, aren't we curious? Like what? Yeah. Oh no, it's environmental. Yes. And right. I look at the big picture of wellness. Yeah. And if we omit any slice of the pie, we're missing the big picture. So I'm like, let's handle all of it.
I agree.
And that's what we do. I don't say alternative. I say complementary to doctor's care, diagnosis, Chinese medicine, whatever's working. I love it. Yeah. Right. So
it's wise to say complementary, because alternative also has a bad.
Yeah.
It's gotten a bad name these days. Pseudoscience. I had someone the other day tell me to just go believe your pseudoscience. I'm like, okay, I will. I said I already do. But it's only called pseudo for. There's a bunch of reasons, and most of them aren't what people think.
Right, like placebo. Placebo doesn't mean what people think. Same kind of deal.
What does it mean for you?
Well, people think placebo is like not getting anything, but it's just a study that can happen where the data is given, is gathered based on the entire study, where some got it, some didn't. Those don't know that they got it. They didn't get a placebo thinking they got it. They don't know what they got.
Right.
So it's not like, oh, here's your medicine, you get the medicine. No, they don't know. So it's like, it's blind, double blind, really.
True double blind.
Then you can trust the data because there's no, what's that word? I did a whole topic on it recently. Skewed reality, what I'm talking about. Anyway.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I forgot. It'll come to me after our program. There's not a lot of mind when I work. I'm totally present. So I'm not used to having the back and forth. I just kind of drop in and plug in and then help people. I'm not, the back and forth, because I have to go in the mind and track what you're asking me. And it's not my thing.
I understand. Totally.
Yeah.
You get better and better at staying out of there when you're trying to help people from here.
I don't stay in there. Yeah. Unless I have to balance a checkbook or something. And I let my wife do that, because I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. I like an IKEA instruction thing. I'm like,
oh man,
I have the brain for it. And dude, I'm a pilot. Like I had the brain. Like I could have done that. I did for years, and now I just can't. I don't want to.
It's another thing you get out of practice with it. But it's funny. You said IKEA directions. We were just talking about IKEA. Oh, really? I was like, don't get IKEA. And we have to put it together for 3 years. She's like, I'm going to put it together anyway. My wife said. I was like, yeah, exactly. You don't want to get IKEA.
No,
because I can't help you if you do, baby.
Yep.
But, it's profound what you're sharing and the way you work with people. So it's fantastic, And
thank you.
Let me add, you mentioned when you said you had non-physical teachers and as well as physical teachers. I'm that I was curious, like what, and I don't want to take you to a place where
I'm not going to go there. So you can ask all you want. I'm not going to go there. If I start to go there, I start to lose my base of medical doctors, psychologists, working in hospitals. I value those relationships.
No, I don't.
If I start talking about the vaccines and start talking about this world order and start talking about, all that stuff.
I mean, I don't go to the
I know
on the show anyway,
but I can't.
Have you been reading my Facebook page?
No, I'd rather do my work and stay humble and below the radar. And it's just, that's not me. I
Yeah,
mean,
you're
there's other
better off,
people that,
dude.
yeah.
You get a target on you anyway these days
Well,
if you start talking about
I
that
just
stuff.
want to help as many humans as I can before I die.
Right.
That's my goal. I don't want a bigger house. I'm happy with the stuff I have. My family's healthy. I'm so grateful for everything I have. My only goal now is before I die to help as many humans as I can to wake up, clean up the past so we can leave the planet in a better place than when we got here. That's all I care about.
It's a noble endeavor, man.
Yeah, you could give me my own TV series, my own, leader of a country. No, thank you. I'm just happy helping people. I love it. Yeah.
Cool, man. So let me ask you a question that you can answer then. If you were going to break
I'd love to answer the other one, by the way.
I know you would. One of these days we'll talk off the record.
Yeah, sure. Is this thing on?
Hot mic going yet.
This thing on?
Oh, no, there's no. If there's no red light, it's not on. No. Let me ask you this: if you were going to break this reality down like a video game, how would you describe it through your perspective?
We could look at the model of singularity. So the singularity fear is that computers will take on their self-referral, start making decisions on their own, become autonomous and all that. Well, life imitates other. Art imitates life. We could say the computer's internet is an externalization of the nervous system because so many humans have given away their power, their free will. And the singularity model works for me because it's this fear we have that computers are going to do this thing like in the Terminator movie or movies. And I'm like, is this some kind of a cosmic joke? Am I the only one that doesn't see this? Wait, am I the only one that does see this? Humans have done the singularity thing, right? There's this infinite creator source, whatever you want to call it. It's the higher power of your understanding. It's the source of all that is, was, and ever will be. It's the ultimate programmer. It's the perfect supreme being that knows everything because it's not in time and space. Time and space is within it. But humans, instead of accessing that, we're accessing ourselves. We've gone rogue. We've done the singularity thing as humans. So we're referring to ourselves, the program, the things we've been told and shown, and accepting it all as real. And that's our reference for putting together what's possible in the future. Are you kidding? We're worried about computers. Humans have already done it. We've done it for thousands of years. And the world is reflecting that by the fact that we're destroying everything and shitting on each other and violence, and that we even have a weapon that can take out everybody and create nuclear winter is beyond my imagination. Like, are you kidding me? How's that even possible? Well, it's easily possible because of the human singularity factor. I did a whole program about this on my, I do weekly calls, and I have programs that I offer with lots of people where I work on stuff. But it's like, humans have already done it. Who cares about the computer thing? We gotta plug back into the programmer, whatever that is for you, and get that original program and let go of all the other viruses, fragmentation on the hard drive, all the other crap that's been affecting our experience as humans. Because if we don't that's waking up. If we don't wake up, here's the thing. You could talk about world peace till the cows come home, recycling, the importance of not effing with our genes and the seeds and the, farming and all the stuff. You can try to fix all that. It ain't going to get fixed until you get people to wake up. When people are awake, they wouldn't think of hurting their neighbor. They wouldn't think of messing with the gene pool, playing God with DNA. They wouldn't think of genetically modifying stuff because it's not in our truest nature.
Yeah.
One with that. So that's really the short answer.
No, there are moments in my day when I can kind of comfort myself and soothe myself. And the moments I find the most comfort is when I remind myself that there's gonna come a point in this evolution of a species that we are participating in where people figure it out and just stop. They're not gonna do these things anymore because they're gonna realize that, that not only is it harmful to that person, but it's harmful to the planet. That it's not that there's another way to live that is in harmony, with what we were created to be, what we are. And it's like, man, those moments are so wonderful. I got to try to be a little more conscious and find them more often because, especially with everything that's happening right now, it's easy to kind of fall into a little bit of, not despair, but, worry.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Well, there's always, that's the thing about reality. There's infinite versions of reality. So there's the one we're attracting, not saying it's anybody's fault. But if you want to see a different reality, you're going to have to shift the frequency that's inside, because that's what's showing up out there as the reflection. The version of reality is just a reflection of what you carry. One of my early email addresses was universe, YOUNIVERSE at AOL.com. AOL was around, right? Are they even still around?
Yeah, I haven't.
So yeah, universe. I was like, oh, this says everything. And that was my email address. And I loved it. It was great because it's like that. It's your universe. Yeah. We're like, well, that doesn't make sense. No, because it doesn't fit in the mind. Don't try. You can't solve that paradox. The mystery of life, people try to make it fit in their mind and it doesn't. And then it's not a mystery anymore. Yeah, really?
So what do you say to the people who are, you have half the people looking around saying, well, if only these people would do that, then we could do this. And then we would be able to go on and things would be different. And you have the other half looking at the same exact situation, the other half of the people, and saying, if only you would stop doing this and then we could do that. And what about this collective co-conscious creation that is happening out there? How do you reconcile that mess with what's going on here?
It doesn't reconcile.
It doesn't, right?
No,
I didn't think
so.
It
never will. It never will.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But I guess it's like you said, the more people that wake up, the more people that come into alignment, the more things like that are going to fall away, I think.
Yeah. And here's the cosmic joke. The Mona Lisa smirks. Well, for a few reasons, I feel. You are already awake. That's the joke. Now, the mind is the veneer on that truth. This, going back to the story, the thoughts. What's in between the thoughts? Who are you? That's the question. Now, when you ask yourself the question, who am I? If the mind answers that question for you, that's not the answer. So then, what's the answer exactly? There really isn't an answer. If we said there was an answer, the answer would be, I don't know. But telling yourself you don't know is not the same thing as not knowing. It's like a teenager. What do you want for dinner, honey? I don't know.
Yeah. Or what's wrong?
Or whatever. Right. As opposed to, what's the meaning of life? See, I'm resting in the not knowing of that question. And in the not knowing, I create a vacuum. And in that vacuum, guess what shows up? The answer.
Right.
But it's not something that fits here. It's not something we get to. It's already here. You're already awake. It's just noticing the you that's the eternal, not the small you, small I, but that one. One with the creator. This is the thing. One with the creator doesn't mean me plus the creator. What does one with mean? It means one. It doesn't mean two. It actually means zero, but that's too much for today.
Yeah.
There's no separate reference. Once you have a separate reference, you have division. Then you have cellular multiplication. You have all the Maya and everything else, which is beautiful. We love creation. That's creation. But creation is happening within your awareness. You're the awareness, not what's showing up. And once you identify and that's your truth, you're free. You can actually enjoy the play, even if it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
Now you have a preference, probably most people don't, but if you do, hey, it's just an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, go ahead. You were talking.
No, I was going to say, great, wonderful, wise acting coach. You probably heard of him, Larry Moss.
Yeah.
He's Love that. I love that, man. He's changed my.
Wasn't he a Scientologist at one point? Or am I
No,
thinking of,
no, he wasn't. No, I'm not
oh, he
sure.
wasn't. There was another great acting teacher that was a Scientologist, like hardcore Scientologist. And he was an amazing acting teacher also. But Larry Moss, I have a lot of people I know that studied with him. They loved him. So
Yeah, he's brilliant. But he when he's trying to work with an actor, he always says, he's like, tell me what, what is this, and how does it make you feel? And the actor will say, I don't know. And he'll say, but well, if you did know.
oh yeah.
And the actor will say, I don't know. He said, well, if you did know. And the actor will say, well, and then the answer will answer the question. And it's just like he always knew. And it's like every time. And most of the time, the actor doesn't realize that he just said, I don't know twice. And then he answered the question, and everyone in the audience laughs because I do that with my kids now all the time. Like,
Yeah.
like, well, if you did know, and then they answer. So
Yeah.
it's amazing what we know, even though we say
I do that. That's a very similar technique in the practice that I have people make it up.
Yeah.
I don't remember my childhood. I don't remember what happened when I was before age 10. I don't have any memories. Oh, we'll make it up.
Yeah.
And they make up a real memory every single time. One woman in upstate New York went out of her way to make up something she knew was fake because she didn't understand what I was saying. And that's fine. Only one ever in 34 years.
Wow.
They make up something real, if it's necessary. And that's a specific aspect of the work where I do that. But yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing.
It's what you're saying. Yeah.
It's incredible.
If you did know.
Yeah. But if you didn't know,
yeah, because the mind's holding on to a concept of I don't know. You know everything because you're one with.
Yeah.
How could you not know? Questions come with the answer. They're like these paired spooky action kind of pockets of energy. When you grab the question, the answer's already here with the question. They come together. But most people go, oh, that's a difficult one. Or, cancer is that can't just be healed quickly. That's much more.
Yeah.
Who made that rule up?
Right.
The cancer is more difficult than a migraine. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. It's just a word.
Well, exactly. But there's a history, there's a judgment. That's why we transcend those. Yeah. We don't let the mind run the show when we're doing the work because it doesn't work,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if the mind was going to help, it would have helped 40 years ago for us, depending on how old you are. You're probably not even 40. So
I am. I won't say exactly how old I am, but
I won't say I'm 55, baby, 55.
But I look good for my age. No,
You do.
Anyway, what was I gonna say? Oh shit, you were saying something.
If you did remember if you did remember, what was it?
A lot of times the I don't know is really it's in part a protection. It's in part but the answer is literally right there. Sometimes you're asking this part of you, and you need to kind of drop down to this part of you to answer it. And sometimes the moment that happens, it's like then the answer comes. But
that's it.
We get stuck up here in this cage.
Yeah, that's it.
I shouldn't point to the third eye. I mean, this whole brain area.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the brain. The mind is a humble servant, but most people put the cart before the horse. The horse is the heart. The heart's supposed to lead, guide, and direct you in your life. Almost every human is mind forward, and they're wondering. It's like letting a 3-year-old drive your car on the interstate. Really? That doesn't seem safe to me. It's not. That's why the world's doing what it's doing.
Yeah. It's it makes sense when you say it like that. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Why it's in the state it's in. But
you wake up. You have to get people to wake up. That's why I do what I do. You get people to wake up, and I'm telling you, there's no more conversation about recycling or respecting women, or it just happens. I was skiing 5 days ago, a week ago, and I'm going down this trail, and there's a brand new, I'd never even seen the new iPhone Pro Max. I'd never seen one. It was brand new, just sitting there on the snow. I was so excited because I knew whoever lost this, and I was just so excited to see the look on their face when I handed them their phone back, right?
Yeah.
Long story short, I did. They tried to give me money. It's like, are you kidding? It's not like, oh, I'm such a good person. Oh, wow, John's
Yeah.
Now, you cut to me as a teenager, I was a shit.
Yeah.
The stuff I did, because I was coming from this pain body. I was coming from all this old program. I hadn't done any work. I definitely hadn't woken up. Oh, I was just a crappy kid.
Yeah.
And I loved that kid because I couldn't have done any better. I mean, but I had to clean that up, but the
Yeah.
version of me now is like, oh, I could find $1 billion in gold in the woods. Now, I wouldn't probably give it to the local government. I would do everything I could do to find out whose gold it was.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't just probably,
Yeah.
like donate it. But anyway,
That would be
it's like that.
wise choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's a lot of wisdom. And speaking of which, if you were able to, in a way that was really, you could reach everyone on the planet, you could just give them one understanding and speak to them in a way that they could really take in what you're saying. What would you say to people, in just a few sentences that they could take with them into their lives that would change them for the better, make things easier for them?
I would help them stop their mind.
How so? So, John, what do you think about this?
So that was me stopping your mind. I obviously didn't stop your mind, or else you wouldn't have had the question.
Oh, well, yeah. You had my mind stopped, and I was allowing it to
I'm
be
teasing
stopped.
you. I know you're thinking like people are going to come on and think the screen froze. This is like lame.
I just blame Hunter. He was texting me. He's like, ask this, ask that, ask this.
No, I'll just say, what would I say? I would say, live the Serenity prayer. So there's a Serenity prayer, and it sounds great. People repeat it. They hold on to it at meetings for AA or whatever, and awesome. But what would it be to really live the Serenity prayer? Well, what is the Serenity prayer? The core of it is letting go of the things you can't change. That's really, and in this moment, there's a lot we can't change in this moment. Now, there's a supreme paradox of that. When you accept what you can't change, fully surrendering to the experience, something else happens. If you look for the something else, you get the booby prize. And so that we can't say to something else, because then people go, well, then I know if I do this, then I'll get that. No, it doesn't work that way. It's like the monkey with the fruit, and they catch the monkeys in the trap. They won't let go of the banana or the orange, and they just walk right up and grab the monkey because the monkey can't fit the fruit through the opening. That's how they catch monkeys in India and maybe Africa. I don't know. It's like that with humans. So I would just say, resolve what you carry, clean up the past, and then the most incredible life story, the book of your life, the most incredible one is blank pages, because you write it on the fly. You write it from what excites you in each moment, as opposed to anything that's predetermined or destined. There is fate. In other words, your life is written. All of your life is already written, beginning, middle, and an end. But how many books are in a library, right? That's one volume. You can go and pick this up, and this version of your life is a completely different ending or middle. It's all existing now. So yeah, we could say life is fated, but in the multiverse that we're in, or that's in us, who says that you have to continue reading a book? It's like the radio. You tune the dial and there's a new song playing. That song had a completely different middle, beginning, and end.
That's right.
And you forget about the old song. That's what people do with this work. They literally change the frequency to a completely different reality where you don't even remember the old one. That's why there's not a lot of gratitude. I don't get people calling me. I'll run into them on the street. Oh, whatever happened with that cancer? Oh, I forgot all about it.
Yeah.
I literally have that happen.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
It's wild because they're in a new reality.
Yeah. And a new body to go with that reality.
Absolutely. Everything's new. In a new reality, it's all, now a lot of things appear the same. And if you look at Robert Monroe and Far Journeys and remote viewing, which I've done all of that, I've just done a lot of training and had experiences. It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
They talk about it.
Talking about the Monroe Institute in the last.
Yeah. That's another day. I can't, I don't have too much longer. I need to run here. So, anything else you want to ask? I'm here for you, man. You already got the answers. You're the man. So
Oh, thank you, John. That means a lot coming from you. I appreciate
Well,
it.
it's true.
I'm going to try to take you a little farther out. I know you're going to be white knuckling the the planet here, but you know, everybody has. I think everybody has obviously everybody has an opinion and some experience. I mean, I have a good friend. I talk about him because he's become a bit of an atheist. He's had a lot of pain, a lot of trauma, but he told me about this. He likes to bust my balls about my love for extraterrestrial stuff and all this talk that I love to do he said he's like, did you ever see a UFO? And I at the time I told him, I said, no, I never saw one. He goes, man, he was like, it was like a religious experience. And
Your
I said,
atheist buddy said that?
yeah, those are the words. That's the word he used, and I thought that was so. It was mind-boggling to me that, and he's usually the one busting my chops about it, and that's the way he described seeing this thing in the air. And he's a pilot as well, but there's just this correlation that has happened since the 80s, I think, and probably before, but with extraterrestrial intelligence and metaphysical concepts and some of the teachings that have come and I know you have good reason why you don't want to go too far out, but I would love to hear what your opinion about that is and how that correlation came about.
Well, there's a lot of, when you talk about infinite versions of reality, there's a lot of possibilities in infinite versions. Anything you can imagine exists. Daryl Anka once said that, and I love that one. You can't imagine non-existence. So if you can imagine aliens, you just they exist somewhere. Otherwise you wouldn't have been able to imagine them. So what can you not imagine? And the answer is you can imagine everything and anything, and that's exactly what exists. So for some people in their version of reality, there could be aliens standing in front of them. They wouldn't see them because of their beliefs and because it probably doesn't serve the person to see that. That can also exist on a cultural level, on a race consciousness, meaning the human race, a certain level of density doesn't allow, there'll be little micro pops or blips in that field, but it's not the norm. We haven't raised the envelope to where it includes things beyond what we can, what we've previously seen or experienced, or that we believe we've previously seen or experienced. So there's many cultures, civilizations, and energies that have interacted with Earth, I feel. And there's too much, quote unquote, evidence to believe otherwise, even in this version of reality.
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of personal experience. And when I say personal, I mean physical, but I don't get into that as you alluded to, as I alluded to. It just doesn't serve. There's enough on our plate here. There's enough going on the planet. There are a lot of spiritual, like you said, there's a bridge there with some other cultures that maybe aren't, we could call them interdimensionals or whatever you want to call them, extraterrestrials. There's been a lot of seeding possibly in our arts and Hollywood and through a lot of great religions. There's been beings that probably were beyond the Earth. So that by definition is extra. I don't like the word extraterrestrial because it conjures ET and all this other BS. There's so much intelligence and so many forms of intelligence, and
all of it's extraterrestrial. I mean, from where I'm sitting, it's like none of it. I mean, where do you think it came from? I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, you were born. Where do you think your soul came from? I said, where do you look? And he looks at me, he says, up. I said, yeah, it came from, it didn't come, up, down, it's all relative. But I said, it came from somewhere. It wasn't here, so it had to come from somewhere. So it was not on the Earth. Extraterrestrial. Terrestrial just means on the ground, on the Earth.
Yeah.
And he gets it, and he laughs whenever I tell him stuff.
I see a lot of people devote a lot of time and energy to things like that, supernatural, ghost hunting, and it's fun and it's great. It's interesting, and there's a lot to that, I'm sure. But those are some of the same people that have so much in their own kind of backyard that they're not dealing with, and they're hoping that this big, oh my God, the aliens are here now. My all my crap, I don't have to deal with it. This is taken front and center stage. It's sort of like any global wars we're having. The moment, let's say a malevolent alien ship right?
Yeah.
And we see it in movies, right? All the attention is going to be on that. We're not going to be fighting each other. We're going to be like, oh, right. So
yeah. No, that's the big
and that Arrival. Oh, what a great film.
Great film. Yeah.
We had to integrate the language and work together to put it all together to be able to change history.
Great movie.
Out of the present. It's all in that movie. All the, like Wizard of Oz, it's all Matrix. It's all there. I love when Hollywood does that.
Yeah. Once in a while, they'll do that
once in a while.
Yeah. Not so, but when they do, it's so sweet. It's there then to go back and watch. But
not The Arrival, but Arrival.
No,
The Arrival's with Charlie Sheen. That's a different alien movie.
That is a different alien movie.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Whole different genre. No, this one's with Jeremy Renner and what's her name? Yeah, she was. I think she was nominated for an Academy Award.
She should have gotten one. She was so good in that.
She was great. Yeah, man. Well, this has been amazing. It's funny. It reminds me of a meme I just saw it had a dude in a UFO with 2 aliens, and he was like, "Guys, I can't thank you enough for this. I've just been so miserable, cooped up in my apartment."
Are they? With the COVID, did he have a mask on?
No, he didn't. He must have taken it off to be.
That's funny. Yeah.
But man, this has been great, John. I'm definitely gonna stay with it. Keep checking out your work and get more into it, because I really loved what I've learned so far and what I've heard from our talk here. And I know you got to get going. I don't want to keep it too long. But it's been real, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Definitely, we'll have to check back in a year and see what the state of this this planet's in, and what else we can talk about then. Maybe we'll have more liberty then.
There you go.
Talk about
I love
stuff.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you,
man.